It's not looking good for 60 Minutes. It's increasingly looking horrible for them because not only did 60 Minutes lie about Governor Ron DeSantis and his actions, they did so in a way that is bizarre. It is so blatantly false, so easily discoverable in their falsehood that it's a wonder why they did it at all. And now the walls are starting to close in on 60 Minutes a little bit. And to catch you up, Governor Ron DeSantis was opening up the local grocery store in Florida, Publix. Publix was serving the vaccine to people, and one of the people that they were prioritizing in Florida was the elderly population. As you know, Florida has a large elderly population. And it is the elderly people who are most susceptible to the coronavirus. So naturally, getting the virus to them was going to be the smart move. But according to 60 Minutes, this was somehow foolhardy. He shouldn't have done that. So the order for Ron DeSantis in Florida was, frontline workers first, healthcare workers, and then elderly Floridians. 60 Minutes attacked in a very unfair way Ron DeSantis, trying to paint him as both incompetent and corrupt, accusing him of allowing Publix to get the vaccines to the people because they at one point in time had donated a large sum of money to his campaign. This was absolutely false, as Ron DeSantis had explained to the 60 Minutes reporter, but 60 Minutes intentionally cut out part of the explanation that Ron DeSantis gave in order to make him seem a lot more corrupt, which was bizarre. The footage of him saying it was captured by many different places, and yet it would seem that 60 Minutes was still trying to push this idea that, DeSantis didn't really have an excuse for what he did. It was just pure corruption. But now we have Publix also responding. Publix is also throwing in their explanation as to what happened. And not only that, more Democrats themselves are coming out to denounce what 60 Minutes did. Let's dive in. This hot red state right now from Banshee. Publix responds to Ron DeSantis hit piece as things just get worse for 60 Minutes. Now, I'm going to scroll down here and just kind of dive in. The short version of what happened, according to Banshee, is that CBS decided to take two unrelated facts and present them as an all-encompassing narrative of scandal around Florida's vaccine rollout. Specifically, they accused Publix, a massive grocery store chain in the state, of paying off Governor Ron DeSantis to garner preferential access to vaccine distribution. Of course, none of that is true, which is why even two Democrats, including the former head of Florida Emergency Management, called out 60 Minutes for their lies. Now, Publix has responded, and it just makes things even worse. Now, Publix response is superb. It says, doing our part. The irresponsible suggestion that there was a connection between campaign contributions made to Governor DeSantis and our willingness to join other pharmacies in support of the state's vaccine distribution efforts is absolutely false and offensive. We are proud of our pharmacy associates for administering more than 1.5 million doses of vaccines to date, and for joining other retailers in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia to do our part to help communities emerge from the pandemic. Banshee continues, it's absolutely unconscionable that a private company that was simply helping distribute vaccines now has to put out a statement like this to counter a blatantly false report by a major news organization. CBS News isn't some far-left online blog. They are supposed to have basic standards, though clearly they don't. Now, one of the things that's really interesting about this is the fact that they're trying to make it seem like Publix somehow was a mass benefiter from the fact that they were able to help roll out the vaccine. And I want everyone to keep in mind that it wasn't just Publix doing this. They didn't have sole rights to vaccine distribution. This was a mass effort in Florida across different pharmacies, across different locations, across different access points. This wasn't just a Publix show. Publix was helping. It probably didn't really benefit Publix really all that much to have their parking lots filled with people lining up to get the vaccine. Many shoppers trying to find a place to park and go in and shop were having a difficult time. It was probably jam-packed with people trying to get vaccines. Publix was literally doing something to help. And this is the way that they tried to frame Publix, as some sort of connection to the corruption that Ron DeSantis is involved in. It makes no sense. It's really bizarre when you really stop to think about it. Why? Well, in the last video, link appearing at the top right at this moment, I kind of go over as to why. Again, Ron DeSantis is the leading Republican when it comes to freeing up a state. His state is doing well in terms of infection rates and the economy. Everything he does is the antithesis of what the left is wanting to do. You have Joe Biden, Jen Psaki, and all these people talking about how we're going to have months and months and months more of suffering and sacrifice, and how, Fauci talking about despite the fact that people have vaccines, they need to still wear masks and isolate themselves, and, more lockdown measures. And on top of that, if Ron DeSantis is right, then Governor Cuomo and Governor Gavin Newsom were wrong. In the way that they were doing things. They cannot have that. The Democrats cannot have that. The left cannot have that, because they were supposed to be the authorities here, the ones who believed the science, the ones who really knew how to fix this nation and needed to do the things that were right, the adults in the room, in order to make this problem go away, solve this massive crisis that has befallen us. And yet they're all failing, and Ron DeSantis is succeeding, despite the fact that Ron DeSantis has a large population of elderly people living in his state. His state isn't really suffering all that badly. The coronavirus affects elderly people most, and yet his state seems to be doing not much worse than anybody else's. His state's actually doing pretty well, economically as well. So if Ron DeSantis is right, then everyone else is wrong, and the Democrats cannot have that. But here's the funny part: even Democrats are actually starting to turn on 60 Minutes. Now, as we know, and it was Jennifer Van Laar actually covered this previously. Florida's Division of Emergency Management Director Jared Moskowitz, who is a Democrat, had already completely undercut pay to play allegations against DeSantis last month in a tweet criticizing the Miami Herald and their one-sided report on the subjects. And he said, "This idea why Publix was picked has been utter nonsense. We reached out to all the pharmacies, and they were the only ones who at the time could execute on the mission. The federal government delayed the federal pharmacy program, and we yet again stepped up to serve more seniors." He also tweeted out, 60 Minutes, I said this before and I'll say it again, Publix was recommended by the Florida Health Agency and Healthy Florida, as the other pharmacies were not ready to start. Period, full stop. No one from the governor's office suggested Publix. It's just absolute malarkey. Now, here's the interesting thing. He's not the only one now. He's not the only one. Democrat Dave Kerner, who is the Palm Beach County mayor, ripped the report to shreds, noting that DeSantis had specifically consulted with him and another county official about multiple vaccination distribution options, and that they, the county officials, asked to expand the state's partnership with Publix to Palm Beach County. Kerner said that they also discussed his county's own plans for vaccination distribution, and that DeSantis was very supportive. 60 Minutes had that information. They left it out because it kneecaps their narrative. Kerner said that is a Democrat shutting down a mainstream media narrative. Mainstream media, of course, naturally, as it is almost completely undeniable at this point, is in bed with the Democrats. Here's his full statement. I'm going to read this to you. I watched the 60 Minutes segment on Palm Beach County last night and feel compelled to issue this statement. The reporting was not just based on bad information, it was intentionally false. I know this because I offered to provide my insight into Palm Beach County's vaccination efforts, and 60 Minutes declined. They know that the governor came to Palm Beach County and met with me and the county administrator, and we asked to expand the state's partnership with Publix to Palm Beach County. We also discussed our own local plans to expand mass vaccination centers throughout the county, which the governor has been incredibly supportive. We asked and he delivered. They had that information and they left it out because it kneecaps their narrative. We have confronted this pandemic for over a year. Our residents, like all Americans, are tired, and the media is making it worse. They are hell-bent on dividing us for cheap views and clicks. 60 Minutes should be ashamed. I thank the governor for supporting the residents of Palm Beach County because of his efforts working in coordination with Palm Beach County officials. Over 275,000 seniors in our country, which is over 75% of the total senior population, have been vaccinated. I am proud of how our county and state leadership have executed on this important mission, and the results speak for themselves. Let me reiterate here. This is a Democrat calling out a mainstream media program, one of the largest, for intentionally lying about what a Republican did. Why did 60 Minutes feel the need to lie so blatantly and try to hide it from the people to make a state, a governor, seem incompetent and corrupt? Because if he is right, then they are wrong. Not just the Democrats, but the media is wrong as well. This is a desperation move. And it's such a desperation move that they are actually trying to make a successful vaccine rollout, something that has actually helped the American people, seem wrong. Folks, you have to ask yourself a question at this point. Whose side is the media on? If this is any indication, then they're definitely not on yours. And I want to be very clear about this. Many people misunderstand what the media is. The media is not a public service. It is not. The media is a business with an agenda. It has a vested interest in making you watch and pay attention, but it also has ideological interests, and it has a party that it serves for those ideological interests. If things are not going their way, they will intentionally lie, as you've seen 60 Minutes do just over the course of the past week. This is one of the most egregious falsehoods that we have seen from the mainstream media in a long time. And don't get me wrong, we come across a lot of them, but this is one of the worst. Remember, folks, the media is not on your side. If they are intentionally trying to smear a Republican who is doing the right thing and actually is successful at getting help to the people because it ruins their narrative, if it makes their agenda that much harder to accomplish, then they do not care about you. What they care about is accomplishing their goals. That's all it is. I'll see you in the next video. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or learned anything, please hit that like button and be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon so you're made aware when we upload new content. See you in the next video.